Hey y'all, I'm James Hudson, and this is Starting Roll, where we sit down with some of the most inspirational people to talk about how board games have changed their lives. Let me introduce you to today's guest, Krystina Arielle. Krystina, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. So where have people seen your work?
You have seen me on the Siren Show, on Gilding Light with Team Phoenix, on Critical Role's Handbooker Helper, and Honey Heist 3. So mostly on the interwebs.
And a game that you brought for us to check out today, XMen Alert adventure game.
Yes.
From the mid-90s,
When
right?
happy you weren't born.
So let's go to the table, let's check it out.
Let's do it.
Krystina, what would you say kind of formed your nerddom early on?
It started with my grandpa Jack took me to a comic book store when I was little, and he let me pick out any comic book I wanted to. So I got that day an X-Men comic and a Rugrats comic. And I was super excited, and it was just like the coolest thing. And my grandpa actually served on the USS Enterprise when he was in the Navy. So the year that Star Trek premiered, he was on the Enterprise. Like, he was a super nerd, and he would like sit there and he got to watch the first episode on the Enterprise. And so he was a huge Trekkie, and which led to me being a Trekkie. And it's pretty much been Star Trek and X-Men that have kind of shaped the person that I've become. Because me and my dad would come home and we'd watch Dragon Ball Z and Reboot. Yeah. I remember my sister got a Super Nintendo for one of her birthdays. And me and my dad would stay up and we would just play like Marvel vs. Capcom, or we would play through Super Mario World. And all of those things are things I never let go of, because it was always these super happy times with, I don't know, the best times in my life I feel are ones that had games and that had like lightheartedness and fun and nerdy things about it. Like I've had bad times in life, and it's when I like was true to who I am with the things that I love, and that I was insanely happy about the things that I was doing that made it worthwhile.
You can kind of come back to our nerddom, and it kind of lifts your spirit a little bit. Like, it doesn't make things better, but it definitely can make you feel a little better, right?
Yeah, like it does. It's like there's something about like when I'm going to play D&D and I've had a really terrible day, and there's something about being at a table with my friends with no phones, no devices, just pencil and some dice and a paper, or maybe my iPad because I use D&D Beyond. Let's not kid ourselves. It's the modern age. But like, no, like I love those times of just being able to immerse myself in a character or go and play. Like I'm literally going to play to make myself feel better.
Sure.
And that's just kind of, I feel it's all goes back to like watching X-Men when I was a kid. Like all of those different things that are the happiest times that keep you from thinking about how overwhelmingly sad life can be sometimes.
Sure.
Like this last week has been kind of crazy. My dog died.
Oh.
So, sorry, I'm not to be a Debbie Downer, but it's true. It's just life. And it's just been really hard, but I found myself like reading comic books to feel better and like doing all these things of like
coping mechanisms.
Yes, like I watched All Dogs Go to Heaven, and I was like, I forgot how great this movie is. Like it's all these little things that like kiddie stuff that we were told that we would grow out of and that we should put aside, and now it's my whole life. Like my job, my everything revolves around being able to play almost 24/7.
That's a good basis for kind of talking about your career and how you're interacting in the entertainment industry, right? Like you do cosplay, you do acting, you do tabletop RPGing.
My very first acting class was actually just watching What's Love Got to Do with It over and over again, because Angela Bassett was awesome. You watch characters and then you try to do their voices and try to be like who, like, I don't know, like I was a weird kid. I'm still a weird human. But it's just like, I just wanted to entertain people. That's always what I've loved to do. I love to sing. My grandma used to pull me out. I had this little cowboy hat and this little bolo tie, and I would sing I'm an Old Cowhand. And like for her friends, when they come over, she'd be like, Tiny, come over here and sing Old Cowhand, and I would do it. So it's like I'm always gonna perform whenever you tell me to. Turn it on, and I'll turn it on. So it's D&D is one of those things that kind of like gave me all of that in one fell swoop. Like I play a bard, so I get to make up songs and write them and perform and give enthralling performance. Like all of these things that are stuff that people told me to grow out of and that I would eventually get over, and that was not gonna do anything. It's all the stuff I get to do now, like all the time. And
yeah, Miss Banks, you told me I'd be a loser, but I'll suck it.
Yeah, suck it.
Well, it's great because like you've got this XMen Alert. Like this genre, the 90s, like I'm that age bracket too, right? Like that.
We're old.
Well, I didn't want to preface it with that. However, the mid 90s, like and the Jubilees, and Gamut's throwing the
Storm flies up.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
so good.
That was like the golden age of like dopeness.
Yeah.
Like you think about like how they handled the Phoenix Saga, like, everything was just like magical. Oh, so cool.
They even like cleverly worked in some society justice type things for even kids to be thinking about, right? The Sentinels and how people were treating mutants because they were different. Like it really got kids thinking. I don't know, maybe influenced us to kind of think about some of the things we do now.
Well, I mean, it's so much of what it originally was created for was that. It was about the civil rights era when X-Men came out. So to even have like Storm at her point being the leader of the X-Men, like comics and all of these things that we do, for people to say like there's no place for politics in game is just such complete because we learn so much about the way the world works from what we watch and what we consume. Like who we are came from like the shows we watched, the lessons that we learned in those. And like, yeah, the X-Men very much was like these people who are being cast aside because they're different and they have to get essentially like stamped through a system to learn like how they're gonna like, oh, like we need to know because you're different. Like we need to have this control, this hold over you. But they still continue to thrive. And you see those two different sides, of course, with like Magneto and Professor Xavier of like, we need to understand them better. Like, they're like, no, like them, like we don't need to understand them. Like they aren't giving us a chance. So why should we be the people who have to be docile? Like we're the people who have to sit here and continue to be understanding in the face of people that are not understanding, people who will not even give you the benefit of the doubt. And you're supposed to sit here and respond to them with kid gloves. And then the second the X-Men use their powers and they're aggressive. Just saying.
What about this game like really facilitated for you, like you said, the nerddom? What's the nostalgia there?
Well, aside from like Scrabble and Candyland and those kinds of games, like this was the first board game that we had. And I just remember like even when it wasn't being played, because everybody in our family like had a character, like Jubilee, like my mom was Storm, my dad was Bishop, like that was our thing. Like X-Men was our thing. We watched it as a family, like everybody loved it. But we got this board game and I remember sitting around that Christmas and playing it, and it just reminds me of happy times with my family. It just reminds me of like this cartoon could bring us together, that we could come together as a family to just sit around and be together around this board game. And there's so much like, oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm also pregnant, so I have super emotions right now. And it's like, oh my God, like I'm gonna play it with my baby too. I love it.
That's what I was gonna say. So like, how do you feel like a game, not just even just this particular game, but how do you plan on facilitating nerddom and board games and D&D and stuff as you bring up your own family?
Well, let's see. I've already got the ABCs of D&D by Ivan Van Norman on my baby registry. And the Art and Arcana my special edition came with a bunch of pictures of dragons. Yeah. So I'm getting all of those framed to kind of like accent the walls, because I like to use stuff like that even with like Artemis and Luke, is to don't fear things necessarily because they're different. It's like, especially even dragons. Like, you don't know that dragon could walk around with a monocle. You don't know his life. You don't know his story.
I wonder if we could holler at Watsy and Marvel and be like, can we get an X-Men D&D crossover where the X-Men go, and it's in a fantasy setting, like a Wolverine dragon hunter?
Well, even this game is, there's a lot of RP for this game. Like, you get to play as the characters, like when you go into battle. Like, that's one of the cool things about it. And so many of these games, when you go back and you look at like the fact that they use like XP or they use like certain hit points and stuff, and you realize everything is Dungeons and Dragons. Like, it's like even like on the Injustice cards, like all of those different things, like it's all set up so that at some point, if you did decide you wanted to run it like a campaign, you could, given that you could get the proper licensing.
So what you're saying is you're going to homebrew us an X-Men D&D situation.
I'm saying there's a chance.
If someone's not currently a board gamer or an RPGer, right? Like, why would you tell them, like, this is something that you should investigate, you should check this out?
I'll use it in the sense of like with role playing. I feel like it's an opportunity to find out a lot about yourself as a person, because so often, like, people are afraid to present themselves as they are, because there's a lot of parts of us that society says aren't right. You don't belong, you're not supposed to be here. But to have this fantasy world that you can go to and just be anything that you want to be. You can go and create and exist and be and do whatever without these limits. And there's something about that, like, I will shout that from the rooftops. Like,
Sure.
This is an amazing thing to do. Like, just the bonding that comes from it, to be able to test out tropes from behind the mask.
Sure.
And like have the safety of being like, oh, I'm in character. But so often we find ourselves coming out of our shell. Like, we find so many different parts of ourselves by playing different characters, but they all, in a certain way, are parts of us. Like, they're all different stories. They're people we could have been. They're versions of ourselves that could have been. Like, were the world different? If powers were real, or are they? If you had wings, like, I don't know. I want people to play because it's just a space to be. And I think everybody deserves that. And not a lot of people truly get that in life. This place where they can just not be limited. You're not just the girl. You're not just the black person. You're not the gay person. You're not, like, you just get to be someone without having to bend to all of these expectations and feel less than. And I think that that's great. And I think that that's one of the amazing things that games allow us to do.
Sure.
And I like to say, you can be anything but an ass. And even those, like, the lovable ones, it's like but you're more gruff. You're not, like, legitimately just trying to be hurtful.
Sure.
But it's like, there's so much sadness, like, especially like in the world that we live in right now. There's a lot of there's a lot of things that, like, even for families, like, tough conversations that you don't want to have. But instead, like, getting your family together around a table with a board game, like, just taking that time to just bond, like, no screens, no anything, just sitting around a table and playing a game and laughing together. And there's so much healing in just coming together and being able to laugh and to put everything aside and just play. Like, it is.
Be connected.
Exactly. Like, we have these mutual experiences of safety in game, of love in game, of finding self in game, and that's a beautiful thing.
So, like, one of the things about X-Men, like, when I was first getting into the hobby, Marvel Legendary is one of the games. It's a deck building game, but it's built around, a lot of it's built around the X-Men. So I feel like a brand can also facilitate our interest to get into this hobby that we're, that maybe from sitting from the outside, it's hard to, like where do I even start?
Yeah, and I mean, because you know a little bit more about the characters, it makes it a little bit easier to dive in, and you want to, because I know, like, sometimes, like, just to sit down, I'm not one of those people that learns by, like, just reading a manual. Like, I have to do it to learn how it's done. And there's something about finding something that's familiar as your means to jump in that makes it a lot more comfortable for you.
It gives you an organic passion that kind of sends us down a path.
Like, if a friend came to you and was like, oh, hey, let's play this war game, and you're like, it's like, hey, let's play this X-Men strategy game, and you're like, I know all the storylines, I can do this. Like, there's something about it being so familiar that makes it a little bit less scary, which a lot of times not knowing how to do something is the number one thing that keeps people from doing something.
That atmosphere of people judging you, for the most part, is not a part of board gaming. That's not part of our culture, right? It's like, no one's expecting you to, like, score the highest score ever in a game the first time you play it. Like, it's okay for you to struggle through and, like, learn the rules as we go. You've never played a board game before. So I've really enjoyed that about this community, because I only came in, I didn't grow up getting to do a lot of this. Like, in Alabama,
Georgia, I feel you.
It was like sports or get out.
You don't play football? You're not a cheerleader?
Right.
What are you doing with your life?
Like, oh, you're one of those kids. Anyway, that's why I can definitely appreciate these type of things, because even in those more conservative areas, I bet kids could get a game like this to mom and dad to play it, right? Because hey, we're just playing the thing that I like to watch on TV. Let's play Game of Thrones and behead some people. It'll be great.
Like, oh, heck yeah, murder, I'm down. Like, but it's true. Like, it's in those Communities, because being from the South and being a Black woman in the South, like it's not exactly like the most accepting. You're not set up for success in the gaming sphere. But even now, I'm seeing like with the entrance of streaming and things like that, I'm seeing friends back home that are getting more into the games, that are getting like they have this. There's something about the access now. Like there's far more access to be able to do so, and like it's scary. Like I played my first D&D game on stream. Like Sirens was my first thing, and one of the things I do like to say is like everybody that's an expert was a beginner at some point. Nobody came in and just was born and was like, I'm a professional player.
Right.
I'm good at all the things. Like that's not how it works. Of course there's going to be the naysayers. There's going to be people who are like very territorial of it, because for them it was what it's becoming to a lot of other people now. It was a safe space. It was a sanctuary from bullying, from teasing, and all of those things. But I like to try to combat that, because we all deserve a space to be. Like no one's going to corrupt it or bastardize it. If anything, it's just going to get better, and people are going to have fresh ideas and fresh takes on it. But that doesn't take away from your game. It doesn't take away from your scenario. It's everyone has this opportunity to go and create what they want to see. They can play the games as they wish to, and we have to give each other that space to do so.
Sure. Yeah. No gatekeeping in board gaming. Please. No. Let's. And if anything, let's, like you said, let's facilitate more people to come to the table, because it's only going to make it better.
This is a gate. No.
Krystina, it has been awesome. If people want to follow your work and follow all the things that you're doing, where on the social medias should they look into following you at?
Well, you can find me on all of the social media platforms, like the Twitter and the Facebook. So just at Krystina Arielle, pretty much across platforms, and come say hi and talk to me about stuff and things. But don't be mean to me, because I'll be mean to you. I said it. Dare you.
Want to have that same experience we talked about with XMen Alert adventure game today? A new cooperative alternative is Forbidden Island. Instead of winning by competing with other players like most games, everyone must work together to win the game. With multiple levels of difficulty, different characters to choose from, and many optional island formats, Forbidden Island has a lot of replay value. Check out the link below to grab your family a copy today, and make sure to keep coming back to Gamma Ray for more episodes of Starting Roll.